Hello, everyone. I am Krandall Brantley for Buckeyes Daily. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. Your Buckeyes are less than a week away from the Cotton Bowl against Miami. Before we get to the preview, talk about some portal news first. You got Penn State interior O lineman Alex Birchmeier, who plans to enter the portal. And OSU will definitely have Birchmeier on their radar when the portal opens. According to 247 Sports, the Penn State O lineman has played in over 25 games. He's a top 100 recruit back in 2023, with analysts saying that he had first round NFL draft potential. He also got an offer from Ohio State back in 2021. So Ohio State saw his potential and offered him 2 years before he signed with Penn State. So he's at least familiar with Ryan Day. I know some assistants are not on the staff from back in 2021, but at least he knows that Ryan Day saw his potential back then. Now, Birchmeier is 6'5", 313 pounds, with plenty of Big Ten experience. He can compete for a starting spot, at the very least, add much needed depth for an Ohio State O-line who plans to compete for a title again. I know a lot of O-linemen are coming back next year, but you know how the season goes. It's expanded playoff, a lot of games. I think adding depth for the O-line will be a priority when the portal opens, and so Birchmeier would be a great pickup for Ohio State. Top 100 offensive tackle in the 2027 class and top 40 overall player, Leighton Von Brandt told Rivals that he is down to 8 schools that include Ohio State. Brandt is a 6'6", 270-pound All-American from Middletown, Delaware. Now, Brandt decommitted from Penn State after news that James Franklin got fired, but he still included them in his top 8. Other schools that he included in his top 8 are LSU, Florida, Tech, Notre Dame, Tennessee, and Auburn. Now, Tech has James Franklin now. So don't sleep on them. They're definitely going to be a contender down for Brandt because he committed to James Franklin at Penn State. And so we'll see how that goes. We also know that Notre Dame has developed some great O-line in the past few years and beyond. So they're definitely contenders that way. And of course, the SEC schools he mentioned will be contenders too. Now, Ohio State offered Brandt back in May, and Tyler Bowen, the O-line coach, has time to get Brandt on campus, whether it's the offseason or for the spring game, hopefully before Brandt makes a decision and commits to these schools. There's prediction, possibly Notre Dame has the upper hand at this point, but there's still time for Ohio State, and he did include Ohio State in his top 8. So I'm guessing that it'll come down to Notre Dame and Ohio State for Brandt's commitment. All right, Cotton Bowl preview. Number 2, Ohio State versus number 10, Miami. Man, now we know the history. We know the BCS title for 03. We understand that a lot of fans are still mad about that game and can't wait to play Ohio State. There was a rematch of this in 2010 in the shoe. Terrell Pryor and those guys handled business and beat Miami then. And then 2011, they played at Miami, Luke Fickell year. Miami won that one. So that's a revenge game then. They got revenge on Ohio State in 2011, not this time in 2025. So Miami was number 2 team in the country at one point this year. And prior to losing to Louisville at home in a game where their quarterback Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions, including a costly pick in Louisville territory at the end of the game that could have won the game. You had that game, and then everyone stopped talking about Miami after they lost to SMU on November 1st. At that point, people just wrote off Miami, that they were done. Seeing with Miami, when in November, they just fall off, and they only win in September and October. But then Miami showed up. They were blowing teams out. They were very dominant against the rest of their schedule. And people said, well, they didn't play anybody. And then they made the playoff, and they're very dominant against an A&M team who had a very good season. They shut down A&M quarterback Marcel Reed, and they held the Aggies offense to only 3 points. And the game was closer than the actual score. I'm sorry, the score was actually closer than the actual game. Miami should have won by more, and Miami's field kicker, their kicker is Carter Davis. He missed 3 field goals in that game. Miami still won, mainly because their defense and star running back Mark Fletcher, who was a former Ohio State commit prior to flipping to Miami. Now, this dude is a dog. He went off for 170 yards, over 170 yards, and he averaged over 10 yards per carry against A&M. And he'll have to go off again for them to pull off the upset against Ohio State. Not just him, who's great. Miami's O-line is elite. It might be the best that OSU has faced all season. So it's going to be a tough challenge for OSU's D-line in this game. There's already some chatter that Miami is just flat out better in the trenches, and they're just going to push OSU's D-line around. We're going to find out. I doubt that, but it's going to be a test for Ohio State for sure. As far as the trenches for Ohio State's offense, I do believe OSU's O-line will rise to the occasion and keep staying comfortable in this ball game. I think Miami will have 1 sack. Ruben Bain Jr., the star pass rusher, will have 1 sack, and that will be the only Hurricane sack all game. Sam will be comfortable and be able to make plays like he's done all season. Now, this could come down to red zone efficiency, and that could decide the game for both teams. Which team is going to trust their kicker more? Will we see both teams go for it on 4th down more often to avoid special teams mistakes? You had Carter Davis from Miami missed the 3 field goals. Then we know Jaden Fielding missed a chip shot field goal against Indiana that could have tied the game. Now, Miami head coach Mario Cristobal already announced that he's sticking with Carter Davis as their kicker, saying he doesn't have any reason to change, and he trusts the kicker Carter Davis. We don't know if Day will replace Jaden Fielding with Ball State transfer Jackson Corville, who he made for Corville. He made over 95% of his kicks at Ball State, including 52-yard career high. I think I've seen Fielding kick 50-plus. Could be wrong, but I don't know about that. I feel like they brought Corville in out of the portal to challenge Fielding for these situations. So at the very least, during this bowl prep, it should be open competition between Fielding and Corville for the starting situation for the field kicker for Ohio State. I definitely believe Ohio State will be more aggressive in the red zone on 3rd down and play for 4th and short instead of settling for 40-yard field goals or shorter field goals based off of what's happened with Fielding in the Indiana game and last season prior to him bouncing back in the playoff. And so I think whoever wins the competition will be ready to go for 2-minute drill situations for ending the first half and in the 4th quarter. But besides that, I think OSU is going to play to go for on 4th down unless it's like 4th and 10, 4th and 6, and beyond. Now, does OSU have an advantage for having a bye? All teams with byes in the quarterfinals last year, they lost in the quarterfinals. That included Boise State and Arizona State, who received top 4 seeds in a bye when their respective conferences. But ASU did compete with double overtime with Texas, and the stat remains like none of the teams won in the quarterfinals. So did rest really help them going into the playoff? Miami had the first quarter advantage because they've already been thrown in the fire. They already played a playoff road game and won, so their confidence is already up. And they're already hyped for making the playoff So they're playing like nothing to lose at this point. They're going to play confident. It'll be important for OSU because they have been off for the past 3 weeks. It'll be very important for them not to have a sluggish first quarter, at least to a sluggish first half. We saw what Ohio State did to Oregon last year. Ohio State was playing confident after beating Tennessee, and then Oregon, they were off about a month. And next thing you know, OSU was up 34-zip for Oregon did a damn thing. So Miami's not going to go up 34-zip on Ohio State. But what if they go up 14-zip? At the very least, OSU will be in for a dogfight for 4 quarters if that were to happen. On the contrary, Day calling plays for the Buckeyes, that could be a major disadvantage for Miami. Here's what Urban Meyer said about Day calling plays for the Buckeyes on the herd with Colin Cowherd this week. Ryan Day is an elite play caller, so there will be no drop-off. He is knee-deep in the offense. I think he made the right decision. No offense to Brian Hartline, but Brian Hartline is the head coach of South Florida. Meyer also credited Day for being a great play caller for OSU, while Meyer was head coach for Ohio State in 2018. That offense was loaded in 2018, and Day really helped them thrive. Now, if OSU's offense has some looks maybe isn't prepared for, and OSU goes up 14-zip in the first half, it's very difficult to see Miami coming back from that. I think with OSU's defense being so good, I think that Ohio State wins this game by scoring 20 points. If it's 14-zip early on, I think it's a wrap. So we might see Julian Sayin let it rip more than we've done all season. If Sayin balls out and you're thinking, who would win a Heisman if he did this all season, or they had this offense all season, you're thinking that during the game, that's a good thing. That means OSU's offense is flowing and playing at an elite level, and they're going to win the game, and they're making a statement for all the teams waiting to play on New Year's Day. So that'd be a good thing if you're thinking, man, if you're doing that all season, we could have won the Heisman and beat Indiana. That'd be a good thing if you're thinking that during this game. So it's worth noting the last time Ryan Day and Ohio State faced Mario Cristobal was the head coach at Oregon, and he put OSU's defense in a blender, and they pulled up the upset and won in the shoe. I believe it was 35-28 in 2021. Now, will that happen this time around with OSU's defense this year? No, that's not happening. He's not putting this OSU defense in a blender. They are elite. They are historically great at this point, but it is worth mentioning that Cristobal has already beaten Day, and he's confident going into this matchup. As far as a crowd advantage, it's going to be the opposite of last year's Cotton Bowl, where Texas, like 70% of the fans. I think Ohio State will get like 65%. 65% of the fans will be OSU, and they'll be ready to go. I think it'll be an advantage for OSU's defense, and I think OSU can avoid doing the silent counts on offense because of the crowd advantage. And as far as running backs, OSU's running backs got fresh legs now. Bo Jackson, might be able to see him make a leap like Zeke did in 2014 on a historic 3-game run. And Isaiah West, he could progress during bowl prep and challenge Bo Jackson for more carries. But I think both these freshman running backs will have key first downs in the fourth quarter in this game to ice the game, while OSU has the lead in the fourth quarter. Now, both teams have elite talent. And the main difference with these two rosters is that OSU won the recruiting battle to get Jeremiah Smith over Miami. So instead of 3rd and 11 to win the Natty against Notre Dame, it could have been Cam Ward to Jeremiah Smith against Ohio State in the playoff. It could have been Carson Beck to JJ next week while OSU was preparing to face Jeremiah Smith. Now for Jeremiah, besides losing to the team up north, besides losing to them, the last team he wants to lose to is his hometown team, a South Florida native. He's from South Florida. He's not want to lose to Miami. Go back there in the offseason and hear about this from people in his town and his former high school teammates that played for Miami. He doesn't want to hear about that. So he's going to be ready to go. He's going to be pissed off. He's healthy. He's already mad they lost the Blitnikoff Award. They didn't win that one. Even by far the best receiver in the country. And then they lost against Indiana. He's ready to go, man. I expect him to go off, the team on his back, and I expect him to go for 150 all-purpose yards in this game. As far as Miami's star player, running back Mark Fletcher, I think he'll go for slightly above 100 yards, but won't be enough for beating Ohio State because Carson Beck, their quarterback, will struggle to pass on his number one Ohio State defense. My prediction for this game, Buckeyes win 24-13. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and go Bucks.